Friends, we are live. Some things have happened. We have to talk about it. This is Hellfire Agency, a mission of the Church of Korihor. We're a godless church, because of course we are. Now, some things have happened recently that I, ex-Mojo, needed to podcast about. And so we're just going live. We don't do enough things live. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go live. And we'll see if anybody shows up on a lazy Friday. There are people texting me. They think my life is about making everybody else money, etc. Yeah. But anyway, hi. Here we are. We're going live because you know what? It's a Friday and I don't have a life. You don't either. Let's do this thing. Okay. So if you don't know Ward Radio, they're Ward Radio. They're Mormons and they have a problem. I might try and take over for Culch, Lisa says. Hey guys, how's it going? Metal folding chair. I'm not trying to take over for Culch. But if Culch likes the program, anybody out there? If Culch likes the program, what harm, right? That's what I say. I say no harm. Hopefully you guys can see me. It's telling me that my Wi-Fi is slow. Anyways, so I wanted to show you guys something. We're gonna try this. It's gonna be a little off the cuff. It's gonna be a little bit wild. Just be cool, okay? So you guys know Kwaku from Ward Radio. He's a black Mormon who is tired of people pointing out that he's a black Mormon and that's supposed to mean something racial. And I get it. You know, here's the thing: we have this weird relationship, the ex-Mormons, with Kwaku from Ward Radio, in that we kind of have always said this guy's going to see how racist Mormonism is and against black people, and it's going to it's going to fall out for him. Well, little did we know, he the whole time has been trying to convince his fellow Mormon activists, his fellow Mormon apologists over at Ward Radio, that DesNat exists. If you don't know DesNat, it's an extremist far-right movement inside of Mormonism. It's basically Christian Mormonism, a Christian nationalism with a Mormon flair. And some of the significant leaders in the Unite the Right rally and things like this, they're Mormons, and they have this ideology that's very much tied to Mormon theology and Mormon idealism. And I've been delving into this, and it's like freaking wild, okay? In the midst of all this, I got onto Ward Radio's Discord. I don't do Discord. I don't do it. Korihor has a Discord I never get into. I don't understand Discord, okay? But, you know, I said, when all this business fell out with Jenny Gage from Life Take Two, also from the Church of Korihor, I said, I'm going to go in there somebody had mentioned to me, you know, a lot of people inside Ward Radio's community have been leaving comments saying, you guys can hear me, right? That you guys get that this attacks on Jenny are attacks on a woman who is a survivor of domestic abuse, and that's not a great look for the church with its history. They're not saying that, apparently, these Mormons, but there are some Mormons who don't really appreciate that there's this apologist movement out there trying to attack victims of or survivors of domestic violence. And I said, gee, I wonder if on the Discord, where, from what I understand from people, I'm just gonna say it. I don't think he'll mind. Diamond Dave and I are kind of friends, and I'll call him a friend. I'm bold. We have very different ideas on the world, but screw it, you know. And he's a really nice guy. I've been to his house. We've talked here in Provo before he went off to Mongolia. You know, apparently RFM and And Bill Reel over at Mormon Discussions apparently tried to talk him out of it. Like, you don't want to go over there. You'll get lost. The Chinese government will do this, blah, blah, blah. I was like, why are they trying to discourage you? He found a girl he's engaged to. She's got a good family. She comes from, and he they fell in love, and he's going to go to Mongolia. I'm like, dude, you're a young guy. You got your whole life ahead of you. Go to Mongolia. Absolutely. Throw the dice. What's the worst that could happen? So he's in Mongolia now, as far as I can tell. He's happy. He's the only other person I know who's in Ward Radio's Discord. And I heard that it gets pretty wild in there. So I said, okay, I'll drop in there. No sooner did I get into Ward Radio's Discord than I had people flagging me in the comments to the administrators that were for Ward Radio's Discord, saying, who is this guy? If you click on the link to his podcast, it goes to Korahor or something. I'm like, wow, that was fast. There are a lot of people on this, but as soon as I was in there, people were after me. I'm going to try and turn this phone off. Have you guys noticed? Somebody call me crazy. Call me crazy, okay? Have you noticed that they make it more and more difficult on your phone to turn the damn thing off? It's just like, oh, let's throw an extra step in there, another extra step to turn off. It just feels weird. I'm not saying any group is responsible for this, because I just want to clarify that before we get to talking about all the wild things that these Mormons are throwing around. Anti-Semitic stuff. We got eugenics talk. We got all kinds of crazy things happening with these Mormons. They don't even realize they're doing it. And that's what I want to talk about. So first things first. And sorry, guys, I know this is a little bit off the cuff and a little bit wild. My Adderall may have just landed. But they kicked me out of the Ward Radio Discord within about 24 hours, between 24 and 36 hours. I introduced myself. Oh, they got replacement theory. Oh, they do. In Ward Radio? Yeah. Now, I didn't catch a whole lot of stuff inside the Discord before somebody kicked my ass out. I introduced myself. Somebody's like, this guy's totally sus. So I posted a post saying, my name is Xmojo. It's my alias. My real name is Joseph Rollins. I am a public person. I have, I'm not afraid of being doxxed as my real personality. I was known as Xmojo on TikTok. So now I'm Xmojo on YouTube. And I am, the founder of the Church of Korahor. I'm an atheist preacher. And some guy starts hauling off on me, and he's like, you say you're not in here to cause trouble, which I did say. I'm not, and I wasn't. And he said, and then you call yourself an atheist preacher. Yeah. I'm like, okay. Look, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm just identifying who I am because somebody said it was sus that I was in here. Is there some prohibition against an ex-Mormon being on your little secret Discord? Is there some kind of, I'm just here to engage politely. And he's like, who's accusing you of not engaging politely? I'm like, okay, guy, whatever. I don't even know who this person was. I don't think he was one of the main people. And yeah, okay, metal folding chair. That's exactly right. My being there was a problem. And so thanks for weighing in, metal folding chair. You're cold, right? Okay. So anyways, but before I got kicked out, I decided I got to send this post. I found another post that came up, and I said, for whatever reason, I'm going to send this shit to Kobe Reddish because he is going to get a kick out of it. And I thought, I'm going to send this shit to Beth Magnetic over at Mormon True Crime. She's going to get a kick out. I'm like, there are a lot of people who would be interested to see this post in their admin section. It was like the general chat, or whatever they call it, where they cover all of the administrative stuff for the whole channel. And so I screenshotted it on my phone. It was long, so I had to screenshot it. So I composited it into a single image. I did show this already. Those of you who have been to Beth Magnetic's program, we went live a couple weeks ago, and I showed it there. I decided I'm going to pull it up really tight, really big, so everybody can read it together. Shall we read this thing together? This does not represent the views of Hellfire Agency nor its parent organization, the Church of Korihor. We are reading something that Mormons believe, that these Mormons had to post in their own Discord. Now, I wasn't going to publicly show this. I was just going to show it to a couple of friends. Just have a wisecrack and a laugh. Then they kicked my ass out, and I said, okay, well, this is where we're going to talk about some things, because recently Kwaku L from Ward Radio went on Kara Burrell's podcast to talk about Desnat, which is great. I think I'm just going to say a thing. I'm starting to like Kwaku. I did not want to. The apologetics this guy makes, sometimes, and we're going to go through some Ward Radio stuff here. Sometimes he says some things that, frankly, to me, seem like he is committed. It's a little bit, methinks the lady doth protest too much. When he goes after the Desnat people, it's like, well, you kind of defend all the same things. I don't think you've completely deconstructed how much racism is inherent to the Book of Mormon, to Joseph Smith, etc. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Just a disclaimer. Again, sometimes I get things wrong. Maybe I get things wrong. And I'll talk to people. Who disagree with me. I don't really follow the ideology that, that to have somebody on your program is to platform them. So, Kwaku, you're welcome to come on the program and explain some of this. But first, we got to go over this Ward Radio post, okay? I know I've been teasing it long enough. I'm sorry. I just, the amphetamines are strong. Okay, here we go. All right. So you guys see that screen? You got my StreamYard pulled up here. Oops. Close some work tabs. I'm making money. Very crappy non-capitalist. Okay, so you guys can see this, right? I'm hoping. Okay, so I'm going to try and fill this whole screen up. Hopefully you guys can see it. So, announcements and etc. Charlene, I don't know who you are. Sorry, I was going to blot out the names and pictures and things, but screw it. You guys, you made your bed, now you're going to lie in it. And everyone, hello, Ward Radio Discord family. The mods have noticed an uptick in un-Christ-like comments. Dare you? Dare you? Especially with it being Sin Month. Really, Charlene? In 2025, June, Pride Month is Sin Month, and on this post of all posts, okay, Charlene, take your own medicine. Physician, heal thyself. I'm just saying. Okay, Christ would say, physician, heal thyself. Especially with it being Sin Month, this is just a reminder that the majority of people on this server are Latter-day Saints. And then one Exmo who got his ass kicked out just a few hours after this was posted. And we need to remember to show Christ-like love to those around us. Amen, Charlene, Miss Sin Month person. This means all of the genocidal talk needs to stop. Blah, 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 blah. These people are trying to rein in some genocide talk. I'm grateful for it. I'm for it, man. But let's keep going. Let's see. What are you talking about, Charlene? Sling the dirt, girl. No more kill all commies or trans or XYZ. For what? What are XYZ? They're starting to delete posts about exterminating trans people and about communists. But of course, anti-trans, those posts are fine. It's just nobody say the quiet part out loud. Or leftists or commies, pinkos, You can talk about how evil they are, but you can't talk about doing something about it. No temporary solutions, not final ones. If we see any more comments like this, it's going to be an automatic timeout. I'm going to remind you, I got kicked out for existing inside their server as a spy. Surely they think I was snooping. I think I was curious. You tell me the difference. If you start talking about final solutioning everybody you dislike, well, then you're going to get a timeout. If we see the same person do this again, they will get kicked. I was kicked out of the Mormon church and out of the Ward Radio Discord, and I loved it. I'll do it again. Third time this happens, they will be banned. We need to remember that Jesus loved all, but he did not tolerate sin. Isn't it a little bit weird post to be reminding people of God's intolerance? That just seems, I don't know, maybe that just feels weird to me. We need to remember to be more like Christ in these latter days. Wait a minute, are we the intolerant Christ or the loving Christ? Which one is this now? And show love to those around us without accepting their sins. Okay. It sounds a lot like Christian nationalist rhetoric, but okay, fine. That's cool. I mean, it's not, but let's keep going anyway. If this does not sound like something you can do, please leave now so we don't have any issues. Also, if you are Exmo Joe, just go. Otherwise, I hope you all are doing well, and the mod team love you all. Oh, thank you, darling. Oh, he is a darling. You guys able to see all that crap? It's there are a few women in there, actually, metal folding chairs. They are all about it. What's going on? So I wanted to show you some video. I clipped up this video so we could see it in pieces as it goes. But basically, around that same time, actually, it was that same day, Ward Radio posted for members only, so I had to pay Ward Radio $5 so I could see this video early. An interview with Kwaku, where Kwaku tries to convince Cardin Ellis that DesNat is not gone, that DesNat, those of you who don't know, is Deseret Nationals, people who believe that there should be an ethno-state in this world that is dominated by white Mormons. And they are determined to prove to people that they are that there is nothing wrong with what your ancestors did, especially if your ancestors were in Western Europe and or northeastern Europe in the 30s and 40s. No, I'm just saying, because they're all descendants of Israel. So we're going to get into this a little bit. We're just going to watch some videos, and I'm just going to make comments wild on the fly. Here we go. Oh, first I want to show you something. So they're going to be talking about Christian Ascania. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Hopefully you guys can still see me. So this is the X account of Christian Ascania, one of the new DesNat personalities that has emerged on X. This is just one of many people who are, they're still pushing this DesNat agenda. They just don't necessarily always put the DesNat, hashtag, which has gotten people fired from their jobs. It's gotten people into legal trouble. It's gotten people into serious, I don't know if it got at least one guy into serious political trouble. And it's apparently very antagonistic to some people. They're getting it from all sides. The Mormons are after them, and we ex-Mormons are after them. So they still want to do it, though. So here's this guy, Christian Ascania. Basically, you see the kind of things he posts. Okay, remember when they told us the books they were burning were about history and science, and then he posts this. Okay, all right. I haven't gone through this. They found a flying orb in Colombia. Can you? And then he asks Grok, can you elaborate on this photo? These guys love a good conspiracy theory, UFO stuff. That's like, lots of people love UFO talk, but interesting. They've some Holocaust denialism stuff here. I mean, and then a lot of Nordic people are the true Israelites, etc. Oh, please, I did not mean to click on any of that. Anyways, so this is the guy that they're talking about, okay? And in this first clip, Kwaku is going to try to convince Cardinellis that this guy is bad. He's going to try and convince the Cardinellis that Nazism is bad, and it's not going to go well. Now, I'm just going to say before I play this, I get Cardinellis, I think, more than he realizes or would feel comfortable about. He's an entertainer. He's got a family to feed, and apparently, lives in, a nice part of Los Angeles. And recently, we learned from the interview that Kwaku did on Cara Burrell's show. Kwaku, I feel like he wants to deconstruct. He wants to burst. You know how that is? Remember stage 3 Mormonism? Yes, my church has problems, but I'm the one who's bringing up the curve. Those of you who don't know, if you leave Mormonism, there's 4 stages of leaving your religion, particularly in Mormonism. One is you say, stage 1 is everyone lies about my religion. Okay, that's stage 1. Until you deconstruct enough that you realize, okay, my religion maybe has some problems, but that's because you just don't understand it, and it's nuanced. Stage 3 is my religion has serious problems, but I'm the one who's bringing up the curve. I'm the one who's going to bring change. And stage 4 of how to deconstruct your religion is, I can't believe I ever believed any of this shit to begin with. I cannot stress enough, I think Kwaku is stage 3. I think he's hard stage 3. So now Cardinellis, he knows that, as I have said many times, Ward Radio is Howard Stern, where is Mormon Howard Stern, where everyone is Howard and nobody is Robin. And he knows people come in for the controversy. They want, so he's going to stir it up. He knows full well that Desnat is real. He knows full well that this guy that they're going to look at, this Christian Ascania, is a Mormon guy, and that he is pushing the Mormon agenda. But it's interesting how he pushes back. Obviously, he's trying to create entertainment, right? In his mind, this is the show, or Tits, the show that they got canceled, and all these other shows that they've done over the years. It's all going to wind up being Big Brother for Mormonism, right? And so, but he knows that he's not going to get the viewership unless he pushes back to Kwaku. And the things, though, that he says are a little too much of a revelation. So let's just try it, shall we?
Look, he's got his little angelic cherubs and some Nordic Chad
No,
elf.
those are Viking gods.
Okay.
Not angelic cherubs.
An ancient man in a modern world.
Oh, every time they say that, it's countdown to a swastika.
Look, he's followed by Matthew L., Mike Lee, and 5 others, right?
Kid, can we talk about that for a second? All right. Who had on their ex-Mormon bingo, Mike Lee was going to start saying some pretty extremist crap once they started bombing Iran. I mean, I don't talk a lot about politics on the program, okay? And I leave Mike Lee alone because I don't need his Desnat people coming after me. A lot of times, back in my TikTok days, screw it. I'd lean hard into my Bernie Krat stuff, okay? So Kwaku and I are a lot similar. He's a Bernie Krat bro. I don't tell people how to vote. I don't think that any political party in this country represents me, and I don't use this platform to push politics. So I stay out of it. I stay out of it. But Mike Lee is Mormon, and Mike Lee, I think, fundamentally believes in all of this Christian nationalist crap. And you say he follows this guy, this Christian of Iskania. Yes, when I heard it, then I said, yeah, but Mike Lee has some intern who just follows back anybody who follows him. You know, these guys, he doesn't know how to use Twitter. Well, it turns out he does. And and it's very plausible that he follows this guy, this Desnat guy, because he likes his stuff. And he's a U.S. senator. It's not a non-issue.
These are reputable people. Then Christian Wisconsin, your first pinned tweet. I think anti-white sentiment is a much larger issue. I think the pride flags never the House of Salt Lake and Provo is the issue. I think the feminism, the assault, our ancestors weren't evil. Okay, that's fine. So he's saying, hey, don't mess with my Texas. Don't what's so bad yet, bro? So
I am convinced.
I'm one, maybe two scrolls in. I'm coming up on your third.
Okay.
So the bet here is that all it takes is 3 scrolls, or in other words, going through 3 posts on somebody's X to find out if they're secretly Nazi. And the first 2 posts, he doesn't see any problem, except they just covered how this guy we're going to find out is a young man, apparently by the sound of his voice. That this kid thinks that the assault on white people. That there's an assault on white people. First of all, huge red flag. You think you don't see a red flag on there? I don't know how to help you. The guy's pushing an agenda about white nationalism. He says white people are under assault because Salt Lake City, in defiance of a new law here in Utah that says you can't fly a pride flag in a public building or on a public building, Salt Lake City adopted an ordinance where they adopted as flags for the city pride flags so that they could fly them for Pride Month, because that's not a pride flag, it's a Salt Lake City flag. And frankly, that was pretty damn clever. It was pretty damn smart. Salt Lake City has a lot of problems, but sometimes they do some good stuff. But Salt Lake City is more woke than it wants to be. Unfortunately, then they have the police go out and rip up homeless people's tents, unsheltered people's tents, excuse me. I've seen it with my own eyes at midnight, 1:00 in the morning, while I was down there passing out food and blankets in Salt Lake City. I saw them clear these places out. I heard the people talk. It was terrifying. Then the last night that I went out there, I couldn't find any unsheltered people anywhere. And it was after the ICE raids had started. And I looked, I went through the cities in Salt Lake. This is a totally separate issue. I went up and down the streets. I went through and through and through. I had police follow me a couple times, suspicious of what I was doing. I couldn't find people. They had found a place to take shelter, or they'd been picked up. I don't know what had happened, but I couldn't find them. And it was shocking. It was sudden and shocking. And I went, there's a very Italy after Mussolini feel to all this.
First.
What?
And you hate to say it, but this is the reality. Okay, I learned a long time ago, my friend Stuart's mom, Susan, it was like during the first BLM, back with remember when the DeRay McKesson, the early BLM, the guy who had the puffer vest, he was always going and talking with the puffer vest, and that was it was that era before
before Patrice Culler took all the millions of dollars and just moved into my neighborhood. Yeah, okay.
No, Indy, really, she's around here.
Close enough.
That's kind of cool.
I won't say where here is.
So I remember.
Again, this is kind of telling. So I want to go back again. Okay, so on the Cara Burrell interview, and I didn't have time to load that, and anyway, we're not going to have time to watch it. Kwaku reveals that a certain podcaster may have received, when it was realized by a wealthy Mormon donor that there weren't enough podcasts out there or programs out there pushing back against the ex-Mormons, may have given a certain podcaster a startup fund of $100,000 to get a podcast started. This is where we start to really get, okay. I'm like, I don't think he's supposed to tell anybody about that. Okay. I don't know that he's talking about cardinals. I don't know that he's talking about Ward Radio. Frankly, he could be talking about a variety of different people inside this field. But I mean, he goes on Ward Radio all the time. He's basically part of the team at Ward Radio. Basically, if Cardinellis is living large in Los Angeles, we know that he tried to make it as an actor. We know that he tried to make it as a comedian. It sucks. I feel for the guy. As somebody who failed in Hollywood myself, I feel for a guy who doesn't, who maybe isn't making it in Hollywood and has a life to maintain, a lifestyle to maintain in Los Angeles. I've lived in Southern California. It's not cheap. And, and now somebody throws him $100,000 and says, go out there and get sponsors. And now he's got all these sponsors that I'm going to be careful about what I say about these guys, because I don't need lawsuits, but it's interesting. Some of these sponsors, I'll say that much.
I remember we were having a conversation. She was like, Quaku, when you guys say you're proud to be black, everyone's fine with it. But how come when we say we're proud to be white, people get mad? And I asked,
okay,
is there ever, I said, no, I don't think anyone would be mad, but just that the people that say that always end up holding swastikas. And she's like, that's true. If they didn't have it's like every time they say I'm proud to be white, when they do the hand sign after, it kind of ruins the thunder.
Well, yeah, because that's a specific ethnocentric movement of the 80s.
Yeah. So there are certain keywords.
No. No. It's a specific ethnocentric movement that's always been among us. It's always been everywhere. We have it in America. It's always been here. It's not a surprise.
If a guy on Twitter is saying, I don't like anti-white sentiment, and you go and you click on his profile and it's like his son getting attacked in Baltimore by a bunch of black people.
Yeah, I don't like anti-white sentiment.
Horrible.
Okay.
Whenever they post that with our ancestors weren't evil, Vikings, and I'm an ancient man in the modern world, you should know this guy believes in.
How do we know that's not like the Warrior Poets Society? How he's not venerating Thomas Jefferson?
I just can't wait till you keep watching. You're gonna be like, wow, Quickie was right about everything he says. But I get where he's coming from.
Reminder, he's got to play a character here, Cardin. I have it understood from some people. He actually I have had conversations with people who know Cardinellis, who believe that when he goes on Ward Radio, sometimes even he cringes at some of the things he has to say to keep people watching. And I frankly hope that's true. Hey, T-Chick, good to see you.
It's the Robert Sepper school of thought. Okay, Robert Sepper
is Robert Sepper.
Oh gosh, all right. Robert Sepper.
He knows who Robert
is.
Sepper
an anthropologist who basically does alternative history, kind of Graham Hancock style, but his end diagnosis of everything in history is that white people are a part of a divine heritage from the pagan gods, literally put on earth, that they are the supreme beings, and everyone else is not as divine as white people.
So it's like the Nation of Islam, but instead of the baddie being the white guy from the other bodies, it's the bad. He's the goodie.
So this is what Robert Sepper believes, and this is what Christian Iskania believes. But our church is a big target for these people. It's called I call it Abrahamic Americanism. They call it British Israelism, Nordic Israelism. It's always going to be evil when they take a part of Europe and then they put that in front of Israelism, because what they're saying is the true tribes of Israel are of this certain Germanic bloodline. And you keep asking, hey, where did that bloodline go to? Which are the heroes? It goes to all the good ones, George Washington and Jefferson and
that is not a weird thing inside of Mormonism. We're going to come back to this clip, but I want to tell you a little bit about what this guy's talking about. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Hopefully this works out. Okay. So we were talking about this kid Christian Iskania, right? This is the Desnat kid that they're talking about, and his stuff is wild. Okay, and far right and distorted. I dove deep into this guy. If you click on the link tree on his page, it'll come up with all these ways you can tip, you can support, etc. And then you get to reading list and sources. Guys, this freaked me okay? This this is crazy. Okay, this is wild stuff. Okay, so it's basically a Google Drive with all these different documents. This is not uncommon. I don't know if you guys know Zion Media, but like Zion Media had one of these before they had their website that they put everything on. They called it Cumorah with all their other scriptures, and basically any old Joe, forgive me, all my fellow Joes out there, any old Joe who had revealed anything through rocks and hats or otherwise is in Zion Media's thing. These people are desperate for new scriptures. I mean, the church should just give them new scriptures. Have Rusty Nelson sit down and do a thus saith the Lord once in a while. These people are hungry for it. They need it. And what they get is this crap. Okay, so let's put this back up. Okay, you got to see some of this. Okay. Oh, this is Robert Sepper stuff I was looking at. Okay. So we've got Adam God. Can I change this? Yeah, change this to a list view. Okay. So you've got A Remnant of Israel in France by Valerie Martlew. A revealed knowledge of the prophecies and times. Okay. So we got end of world stuff, absurdities of immaterialism. Adam and the Kabbalistic tree. Adam God quotes. All these guys. All the new Mormons are all about the Adam God theory. You know how many? I don't know how many people remember this, but so Brigham Young, if you guys aren't aware, let's just get this real clear. Brigham Young taught a very controversial doctrine back in his day that the Mormon Church has tried very hard to snuff out, and that is the theory that Adam, the first man in the Garden of Eden, wasn't just a son of God; he was God, and came to earth, and all this, and that when we worship a heavenly Father, we worship this God, we worship Adam. He is God, and that for whatever reason, among like people who believe in these Mormons who started to believe in reincarnation, but they call it multiple probations or something like that, or anyways. But it's so that they can believe that I was Captain Moroni, and all of them were Captain Moroni in a previous life. Anyway, so but for whatever reason, these guys are all about the Adam God theory, and that really does make sense because Brigham Young was a racist POS. If he's got theology that supports his idea. Remember that Brigham Young said that if a man of the white race, that if a person of the white race mixes their seed with a person from the descendants of Cain, which is black people, that they should both be executed. That was his doctrine and ideas. And the idea that there is a God lineage on earth, and that God lineage is separated at some point, like the sons of Adam and Eve with Cain and Abel, it makes sense that you have all this narrative that says the Europeans, white Europeans, are the real Israelites. So that's where all this gets right. White and delights them, as A.T. Chick says. So Adam God quotes. I mean, just look at all of this stuff. But I mean, it just keeps going. These kids are reading tons of stuff. They're reading Epic of Gilgamesh, for hell's sake. But then in the midst of all this, Germanic concept of elves, Germany must perish. Let's see. Historia Britannium, history of Jewish Christianity, history of the Lombards. I mean, just like all these, history of the American Indians in 1775 by James Adair. What do you think? Do you think you're going to find anything racist in there? Icelandic book and Christian saga. So a lot of Nordic stuff and a lot of Israel is really Britain, Israel is really France, Israel is really Belgium, etc. Then you got Joseph Smith presidential pamphlet. Joseph Smith Papyri by Hugh Nibley. You telling me that this has nothing to do with Mormonism? Keep going. Keep telling me this has nothing to do with Mormonism. And then I'm just going to skip down through a few of these here. Oh, what do you have here? You have Moroni and the swastika. David Conley Nelson is not going to like that. But basically, David, if you, those of you who don't know, just in case, you've been living under a rock, Moroni and the Swastika is a terrific book by David Conley Nelson, who was a pilot of all things, but just like a really, fascinating guy who really loves World War II history, who went back and traced where all of the Nazis in Mormon history are and wrote a book all about you just don't understand how connected Mormons were in the Nazi machine. And it is a fascinating book. Well, these guys are actually celebrating it. They're looking at, they're like, yeah, we've been tied at the hip the whole time. They love it. They think it's a good thing. Here we go. But this is where I was going through and I said, oh my gosh, here we go. Oh, here you go. Pearl of Great Price and DNC Deseret translation. So, yeah. Anyways. And then you get this. I'll just keep going. Do you see all this? Look at this. The Book of Kells, the Book of Taliesin, Book of Vels. The Antiquities of the Jews by Josephus, for hell's sake. Okay. Anyways, but then you get down here. It just keeps going. U.S. Constitution. I'm so glad to see that made an appearance. Boom. This is it right here. This is what made me go, oh gosh, this is terrifying. Visions of Glory. It throws Lori Daybell. It throws Lori in chat. You know what I'm saying? This is getting to a freakish place, guys. You really are gods. I mean, like, you could keep going on all of this. I certainly hope this young man has not read all of this crap. Anyways, so in case you thought, this sounds pretty innocent, this is the guy that they're talking about. Okay.
And some leaders in Germany, and then hey, which leaders in Germany were the chosen people of God? And
okay, hold on. Let's see if your thesis carries water.
I guarantee the first video you click on will have a swastika.
I
will put down $1,000 right now. Hey, just click on his crazy video.
Like which one?
The one that's like half down.
Okay. Listen, sons of Jesus Christ.
Okay, so this is the third scroll.
Whoa!
This is
oh my God!
Scroll. Hold on, I gotta click on it.
There it is.
Cardinellis owes him $1,000. Okay. Now, how many of you actually buy for a minute that Cardinellis hadn't seen this Twitter page before? Once again, in the entertainment business, let me tell you a side story. Years ago, a woman contacted me who was, she was in the film production space in Arizona where I lived most of my life. Pretty much most of my life. And told me that she was starting a program that was a ghost hunter program. And I said, that's awesome. And she was going to start it on YouTube. This was back in the days when, YouTubers, was a new thing. I said, YouTubing is a great idea. You could really take off, and there's a lot of interest in ghost hunting. And she says to me, we had the back scratcher, and she says to me, do you want anything to do with it? Do you want to participate? I said, does it pay? And she says, as soon as we get sponsors. I said, when you get sponsors, I will be your editor. I'm like, I think it'd be fun, frankly, to do it. And she's like, what about being a producer? And I said, oh, I don't know. And she's like, why? And I said, I don't believe in ghosts. I'm an atheist. She's like, what? She was really upset with me after that. I was like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not trying to discourage you. You want to make an entertaining program, go out and do it. I think it's great. It's a good way to make money. It's a good way to use, to employ some people. And yes, if you want help in post-production, I'm your man. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying I'm not going to go out there and try and sell it to people. And I said, because that's not what I'm going to do with my life. And she's like, well, you have a lot of experience in production. I said, that's true. And she said, so do you have any advice for me? I said, so those like shortwave radios, right? That they always have, that you always have somebody talking, blah, 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 blah. I said, the first key is always put subtitles when the ghosts are talking, because nobody can make any sense of what it is until you put the word on the screen. You put the word on the screen, people hear it. And she's like, no, I mean like real production advice. And I said, oh yeah. I said, get a radio that will transmit sounds that shortwave radio will pick up. I said, and then you find some materials that will show up on camera when you're using the full spectrum cameras, so that you have that you can cut to. And she's like, why? I said, because if you show up at a place looking for ghosts and there are no fucking ghosts, then you're paying a crew for nothing. And that's not cool. If you're going to show up with a ghost hunting crew, there better be ghosts. And she's like, they're like ghosts everywhere. I can, I that's not going to be a problem. I said, look, sure, you're right. I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm an idiot. I'm an asshole, right? Okay, fine, whatever. All I'm telling you is this. You get one guy in the van who is the guy who is the ghost in case there are no ghosts. And everybody just has to play along. That's what Cardin has to do for his own program. He's got to play the sympathizer to this extremist. So that's what we're dealing with right now.
Oh no! Oh no! Wait, hold on.
Listen, sons of Jesus Christ, Woden. He thinks Jesus is Odin, the one-eyed crow demon that was worshipped among the ancient Germanic people. He thinks is Jesus.
No.
Just want to clarify here, because I always find this interesting. I always find it important to point out. I say that Kwaku is obviously deconstructing Mormonism, and good for him. And lots of us are trying to, in the ex-Mormon space. I'll say this much: there are conversations that happen. I'm not naming any names. There are conversations that happen in the Exmo creator space about how long is it going to be before Kwaku sees the light, and should we provoke him? And the answer has been always somebody who says, I know Kwaku personally, and he is a nice guy, and his deconstruction is not comfortable right now. And we all recognize that place. Every ex-Mormon knows that place where it's like, look, this is fresh. It's not just things that I'm learning, but things that are coming up for me as I'm learning more information, and as I'm coming to be honest with myself and experience enough, critical thinking and intellectual honesty. And that moment to get picked on by some ex-Mormon atheist who's just being an a-hole, it's like the worst. That hurts. That's very sensitive right there. So I look, we've all been trying to give Kwaku this wide berth to just, let him come around in his own time. And I'm trying to do that here. Okay. But Kwaku believes in spirits. Kwaku believes in gods and God. And I'm not saying, there's, it's not my thing, obviously, but he actually thinks that there is a demonic influence, this Desnat thing. He thinks the devil's behind it. And that becomes more and more obvious here.
Oh, are you kidding me? Wait, hold on. I'm going to do this in real time. Oh, hold on. This has got to be a mistake. Wait, so Christian Escancia.
Right there.
No, this is a repost. From himself. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So listen, sons of Jesus Christ, Woden. You come from a lineage of pharaohs and warriors.
Oh, by the way,
cool.
They think the ancient pharaohs were not Egyptians or Africans. They think they were also European white people.
Huh. Your ancient ancestors were called Nephites and had a mighty nation spanning the Americas. So now the Nephites, okay, they escaped its collapse to Europe. It's our duty to bring civilization to all the peoples of the earth. And then, oh my gosh, Kwaku, I don't.
Okay, someone tell me that that is not Mormon doctrine. You ever heard of the Lamanites blossoming as the rose? I did a whole emergency sermon for the Church of Korihor, all about how genocide is not just gassing people in a shower. It's not just exterminating people, okay? Genocide is also trying to convince people who are indigenous to a region that their history is something, that the history of their people is something other than what it actually is, in an effort to try and erase their culture. And that's been happening. It happened with the Lamanite placement program in the church. It happened with the missionary program. The first mission of the Church of Jesus Christ was a mission to the Lamanites, a mission to the Indians, to convince them that they were descendants of Israel. Tell me this is different, and then tell me how.
Hold on. Let me try.
Yeah, Mike Lee, our senator, follows this lunatic.
Hold on. Well, just because you follow him doesn't mean you support him. You might just be monitoring him.
That's fair.
Okay, so we got a bunch of Vikings. Oh no, but look, dude, look at that.
He might be monitoring them. Mike Lee is this like online super sleuth, and he's like, I'm gonna keep my eye on this one. That's what I have time to do as Utah's senator.
Okay, now so some of this might just be AI. Okay, that's not a good look.
Okay, this is a part where character or not, Cardin Ellis, you listening to me? I take personal offense. Sounds like a joke. I'm not joking. He starts leaning into how this kid is obviously autistic. And that's starting to, and let me tell you, I'll be lucky to get through it without getting pissed off as a person with autism. Not all autistic people are Nazis. Most of us are people who are just trying to survive, and we have plenty of problems enough without people like Elon Musk explaining, oh no, that's just my autism. That's got nothing to do with autism. So I'm just saying, erase that, Cardin, from your vocabulary.
That could have been just AI generated, but then I go back here and I think I saw that's getting kind of close. But then I hate to say it, I think towards the end here I saw, okay, that's the Indian version, but then
right there.
Right there.
So in case you can't see, they have blurred out all of the swastikas that this guy has posted. So like they've actually gone through, they've recorded this whole episode, then gone through and edited it and done the editing, enough editing at least to be able to just blur out the parts of the video. This is not lightweight editing. I mean, maybe the content edit, cutting bad takes out. But this part right here, like they put some time and effort into this. This was prepared. Somebody went through this and selected that they're going to show this, that World Radio is going to show the world this perspective of what they think.
That's like exactly what it looks like.
There's another one.
Here's the thing.
How do we know?
The minute somebody, and this is, I'm sorry. Every group has a fault. I'm sorry, Cardin. I hate to red pill you on this. The minute any guy is somewhat pagan, talking about how your ancestors weren't evil, and we must bring back the old gods, they are an Nazi.
Okay,
always are 100%.
Kwaku's not wrong. Okay, Kwaku's not wrong. But I just want to clarify here: pagan is one thing. Believing in your Nordic ancestry and loving your Nordic ancestry is one thing. The connective tissue that makes those problematic, the red flag, is when it comes down to and that's why God expects me to whoop, shit, ha, nope. Or that's why what people don't understand about the world is that the ancient, stop, shut your mouth right there. That is where the extreme right wing ism comes in. And now Kwaku is going to present this for the rest of this episode, which we are not including here. I've clipped out most of it. He's presenting that this kid is off his rocker and representing the worst of Desnet. And then Cardinellis has put himself in the position where he has to defend it. And I can't help but wonder how much of Cardin's character defending this Nazi is real.
Okay, I'm doing the fourth scroll. Look.
Okay. So I have two video files. One was this clip, and then the next one is the rest of the video.
You know, this is not some progmo just trying to make conservative Mormons look good.
What progmo would go through the depths of this?
The same Calvin Burke that tried to ruin your life for 3 years.
He wouldn't do this. No. They just do it. No. Also, okay, Alan, you're a non-member. You've never been a member of the church. Because Cardin believes that wokeism is the biggest destructor to the LDS church.
Yeah, because for every one of these cats that's like posting autistic AI generated memes, please tell me this one's not bad too. Okay, I'm not seeing over. Okay, good. So the fourth scroll was okay. But for every one of these cats that's doing some autistic thing with like 2 followers.
Oh wait, no, that one had it. That one had one. It had one. Wait, go back down. It had one.
Wait, where?
Ah, it had like 3. Oh wow, he loves them.
Of like a
Oh
second.
my.
Oh no.
So loud.
So wait, Cardin, this proves these people make us look infinitely crazier than the Bernie supporter. I would
Okay, so this is the clip where this is going to get a little bit wild, because I actually do think that Cardinellis does believe this. I've seen him defend it in comments. I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it on his show. If this is not real Cardinellis, then I don't know what is. Okay, that he is a good actor at the end of the day, it turns out, if this is not true. But Cardinellis really does believe that if you are a Bernie-crat, or if you are anywhere left of center inside the Mormon church, you are as dangerous an influence inside of Mormonism as Nazis. That people who support Bernie Sanders, or people who voted Democrat in the last elections, in the recent elections, that they are just Nazis of the left. And that is, to me, it is just wild. And he is going to pretty much spend the rest of this video defending that position.
Not infinitely. To me, it's the same.
I would rather teach elders quorum with a
Bernie
Bernie bro as opposed to a listen to me, sons of Odin, bro.
Because the Bernie bro is rational, but his sin is pride, and he's willing to sacrifice his society and his friends and everybody else's money at the altar of fueling his ego. How do we know this isn't just mental illness? Because look, I come down here, and Christian Esconcia, he passed the 4th scroll, but not the 5th scroll. The true Israelites are the Germanic, Celtic, Slavic, Italic, and Hellenic tribes. So at least we know.
Pause.
Hey guys, before we go any farther,
Go and do travel. Won't get ads on this program. Hell no. And just say a thing about go and do travel. I say this with no malice towards anyone. This is information only. Google search, go and do travel before you do anything with them. Search, don't look in the reviews on Google. Google places like the Better Business Bureau, and go on Facebook and search for comments and posts about go and do travel before you book any anything with them. Disturbing.
They think the first time in history, if Europe gets united, they'll stop killing each other.
Okay, but this is why I think it's BS, though, bro. Look at this video. So look at this video right here. We'll do it again. Reclaim my gospel. It's got the guy from Dune, like Napoleon, Nauvoo Legion, and then watch this. So there's the temple in Kirtland, but here it comes. Are you kidding me? No active LDS person would put the God Makers cartoon in there. I think this is evangelical, anti-Mormon BS masquerading.
No, Cardin, you don't want to recognize what's there. I've seen this for years. People have called this out. He's using that clip in spite of... Oh, by the way, he's using that clip on purpose. Christian Ascania believes that what that video espouses is true, but is good. He's not. That's not what we believe. He goes, it is what we believe. I'm happy about it. He believes in eternal polygamy. He believes black people are cursed. Like, that's what he's proud of.
First off, who's the he, though? How do we know this literally is not an activist who's trying to either
Because there are a bunch of Desnats in our church. Chris Hardman is one of them that believe in this Robert Sepper school of thought.
Who's Robert Sepper again?
He's the anthropologist.
Again, this is the guy. This is the weirdo guy, right-wing nationalist, who a lot of Mormon podcasters and a lot of Mormons in the right-wing content creation space have been, some prominent ones have been platforming this guy. Basically, his, he's lending academic prowess, academic. What's the right term? He's giving academic weight to some pretty serious racially motivated thinking. And I won't show it here. We don't have enough time, but I did go do a deep dive into this guy, and it's true. He basically thinks that the whole world should be white, and it's pretty weird.
Just on YouTube, who does alternative ancient history and comes to the conclusion that white people are the divine race.
Okay, now hold on a second though. If I wanted to do damage to the church,
total, he's got about 500,000 subscribers.
Okay, if I want,
so this is still where he's,
and I want to do damage to.
Now he's leaning into that we did this. He wants to believe that this Christian Ascania person is ex-Mormons. We got better things to do with our time, man.
Radio, friends in my ward, my stake president, anybody. What I would do is I would create a website called Christian Brotherhood in Arms.
You wouldn't.
And
you
says
wouldn't.
Christian Ascania.
No, you wouldn't.
And then I would have AI generated videos throwing in subtle Nazi imagery. How do we know there's a real person attached to this?
You know why? Because we actually know what the anti-Mormon Trojan horses look like. It looks like Mormon Sunday School on RFM started that channel. Understanding Mormonism by John DeLynn. We actually know. Cultural Hall. They take terms that are normal Mormon stuff, and they make it presenting as if it's normal, and they give you information that's critical. What out of all the people you've gone to church with, Cardin, who have become ex-Mormons, I want you to name one that says, you know what? Norse pagan revivalism is truly the thing I'm going to run with.
Okay, maybe this guy's just smarter. Like, honestly, I wouldn't do what RFM does if I were
What's more likely, that this guy believes this, or that he's secretly an anti-Mormon liberal trying to make the church look bad? What's more likely? You know the answer. He believes this stuff.
No, I think it would be easier for an anti-Mormon to do damage by doing this than by doing what RFM does.
You're saying
he pays no price in his real life. RFM at least pays a price in his real life.
So you're saying
by putting his face on it.
You're saying you think Christian Ascania, this account, is actually an ex-Mormon, anti-Mormon who's doing this as a LARP,
or a mentally ill person.
Well, you got to be mentally ill to do this no matter.
He's out there defending it. He's out there defending it. I mean, okay, let's lean into it. Okay. Christian Ascania is Divas doing a super job at explaining how Mormon theology 100% supports white nationalism. If that's what he's doing, I mean, that's dangerous for him. But I'll tell you this: they know full well that it's not us. We ain't doing this. You guys are doing this. What? This call is coming from in the house.
I hate it. Okay, But here's the reality, though. There's a number of people that are in the Desnet camp that believe in this kind of stuff, in this like European esotericism stuff.
Right. Yeah. So that was the next clip. We're gonna keep rolling on to the next one here. I just put big spaces in video so you can move on here.
These people are evil. They can. And you know what? He sent the Union Army through and destroyed the South.
Okay.
They had it coming as much as the Aztecs. I'm glad Missouri never recovered.
This is where we get Kwaku leaning a little too much into the soup that he has come to spoil. Just to be clear here, okay? Eugenics is bad. Eugenics is not good, okay? It's not about that we need to promote people marrying and having offspring between races. That's not the point. That's not the opposite of eugenics. Eugenics means that you're trying to genetically engineer people by genetically engineering who mates with whom, or by eliminating certain traits and characteristics by breeding them out. And that is, that's eugenics, or exaggerate certain traits by breeding them in. And whenever it comes down to that talk, whether it's this ethnic group or that ethnic group, you're trying to weed out or breed in, it's eugenics talk. And I think sometimes Kwaku wants to make a joke about eugenics, and I'm eager to hear that he's just joking, and he says he's just joking. I want to know for sure that he's just joking when he starts leaning into this stuff.
Okay.
Oh, they're gonna be mad about.
I'm gonna play this recording. I want to see if it's a real person. I think I win if he's posting podcasts here. 78 people tuned in, so he obviously does not have a big audience at all. Half those people could easily just
Doesn't matter. Crazy people. You got to start off somewhere. Remember?
Okay. I get it. But at the end of the day, if this is AI.
100% they have listened to this podcast. They know exactly how many minutes they need to get into it and how much content they can get out of it. It's at the end of the day, it is entertainment. And so, don't tell me for a second they don't know what they're about to hear.
Generated or modified speech of any sort, then I win. If
No,
this is a real person,
I don't
then
concede
you
to
win.
that. Of course, the guy who's posting George Washington with swastikas and pagan gods saying our ancestors weren't evil. Oh, by the way, you don't know the book he believes in addition to the Book of Mormon. That's another whole crazy. He has this other scripture.
The book?
But play the clip. Let's hear.
It's a whole library.
I'm going to play the most recent one about Nordic Israelism, like you said.
Oh, gosh.
European origins and lost migrations from America. 196 people tuned in. Let's hear it.
Sweet.
Wait, is that a kid?
Alrighty. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we can jump right into it. So I was trying to do a little bit more like studies on the Scythian people. And the Scythian people were,
Wait. I take it all back. He's a kid.
Are we just talking like a minor right now?
What the crap? Did you expect him to be a
He sounds like a prepubescent teen that just started creatine in the
from
gym.
about 1000
Like,
BC.
where are his
and the
parents?
Scythians go through a phase from about 400 BC.
Okay, how much does it actually matter that this one Desnat that they're after is obviously a young person? By the sound of him, I mean, you don't know how a person's voice develops. This could be a person who's in their 20s and just, their voice didn't drop very far when, in puberty. It could be, there could be a variety of explanations for this, but they obviously do the sound of the person's voices that they are very young. And that's where it gets a little bit weird, because it's like, when I think about extremism and young people, I get very concerned. That's when I say this is a problem, because then they start forming up groups they start to get utilized by older people. This is a thing. If you don't know, you should watch. Can't believe I'm about to say this. You should watch. You should watch a propaganda film, a propaganda documentary that Hitler had made. I'm just saying. You should watch it just to know. Okay, just to see. It's called Triumph of the Will. Is I believe, the first feature-length documentary produced by a woman named Leni Riefenstahl. And most of the documentary, it's their, I want to say third reunion, first, second, or third reunion of the party since Hitler had come to power. And they basically have like all of this footage of young men stripping off their shirts, wrestling around in the mud, serving each other, big, kettles of big pots of stew, and basically having like a Boy Scout jamboree with a whole bunch of, bromances going on. These young men, and all of them in love with the Fuhrer, and how he's just a boy like any of the rest of them, but they all know that they're looking up to him. They're going to become him. That's scary because, these right-wing nationalists, they go for the young people. That's what they do. There's a reason why people get after Jordan Peterson for trying to pull young men into his camp, is because right-wing nationalism appeals to young men specifically. And as soon as they start organizing young men into, hey, you are special, you are a descendant of gods, you are from a magic mysterium beyond the creation of the world, and you have a divine sacred destiny, and you are going to find the right girl, settle down, have 2.5 babies, and perpetuate that into the next generation. That's when you start seeing everything that makes extreme right-wing extremism really dangerous. And so I get concerned when I hear that this is a young man. And I see a lot more of that happening now. That has happened in the last 10 years or so. I don't have data to show that. I'm just saying the more I look into it, and maybe it's just because I look more into it, the more I look into the extremism in Christian nationalism, is the more I see that they are trying to recruit young people, and especially young men who are lonely and don't have much to do, and are starting to feel bad about themselves. And those are the vulnerable ones that they want to get to and say, you are not vulnerable. You are not weak. You are strong. You are a mighty Nordic god. You are, going to change the world. And believing that God picks people and changes their skin color based on their obedience and their righteousness, and how, the whole point in the Book of Mormon behind why the Lamanite skin had to be changed, it says so that they would become dark, they would become loathsome and would not tempt the Nephites. That's the point. You can say that that's anything else. They've tried to explain, that's really about the mark, the dark mark. The people in the Mormon church have tried to say that's tattoos. They've tried everything they can to say that has nothing to do with race. I apparently have low battery, but that's fine.
For 500
Let's
BC
just watch a little bit more of this.
BC, and then they have a third phase from 200 BC to about 200 AD. And so
I don't think it's a kid. It's probably a college student.
That basically all last 400 years.
Weighs like 90
I agree with Carden.
Literally, you can tell this guy is.
So have you been assuaged that maybe this isn't
the school of thought is still real. I mean, if you look at Robert Sepper, people are pushing this whole thing.
It's good to see
The issue
Amby.
is when they finally have their conventions, right? You get there and you're like, oh, I'm in a Dungeons and Dragons convention. Hey, where are the Nazis?
Oh, we're right here.
Oh, I thought you guys were supposed to be tough. What do you?
Okay, well,
why is
hold
it
on.
like a Pokemon Go?
Now, does this assuage your theory? My theory is that for every one guy that we think has fallen off of the apple cart onto the right into some kind of
I'm not going to bother to pull up the dictionary with this anti-woke scold. But I'm pretty sure that's not the way you use assuage. As a person who uses assuage, you don't assuage a theory. You assuage doubt. You assuage concern. You don't assuage theory.
kind of shaky waters in terms of racial identitarianism ends up being some kid that doesn't even know how to use Twitter, whereas very competent, very private.
This kid, Christian Ascania, he's got 20,000 followers on Twitter. I don't have 20,000 followers on Twitter. You ask me, this kid knows what he's doing when it comes to Twitter. And why does it matter? Why does that make him less dangerous? Why does it make what he's producing and the people who are following him less important that he is just a young person? I really feel like Cardin has to grasp at straws with this one.
People, and lots of them have fallen off the apple cart towards the woke side. I believe I've proved my thesis.
Oh, no.
Wokeism is far worse than
no.
right-wing identitarianism.
Your ancestors were.
You all heard that, right? Yeah, good point, metal folding chair. You all heard that, right? That leftists in the Mormon church or anywhere, he's saying, are more dangerous than right-wing extremists. What are the leftists doing that's so dangerous?
Were evil, and the folk gods of Europe are demons. Don't worship them. Oh, one last thing. He believes in, and he gets a lot of reposts for this. He believes in something.
He gets a lot of reposts?
He gets a lot of reposts. When he talks about one
He
subject,
does.
the subject is the Ora Linda book.
Yeah. So we got into the books that this guy's reading, right? And that he's recommending. So no need to go back.
Progressivism is still just going to go to work at his tech company, and this guy.
I'm going to rewind a little bit. Yeah.
A 16-year-old who's LARPing in 18th century occult German literature.
I don't know, because the 40-year-old man that's in progressivism is still just going to go to work at his tech company, and this guy. I told you.
Sorry, I'm going to go back to this. There he
These
goes.
people are out of their mind, and
Maybe he's just young. Maybe he's just young and has it.
look, we all did crazy. Look, I've done
Again, so freaking what? I mean, seriously, all the worse.
crazy
A
stuff.
45-year-old man who's embracing this wokeism is being far more destructive on society than a 16-year-old who's LARPing in 18th century occult.
Okay, that's me. I am turning 45 on August 23rd of this year. Put me on your gift schedule. Send me a card. I am beyond woke, okay? Woke for me, that was way back there at the initiation, okay? I am a leftist personally. This is my personal, me revealing a little bit about my personal opinion. And I don't expect anybody else to follow my politics, okay? And I don't offer preferences in any of my work based on religious or at least in political preferences. Okay, so let's just keep that clear. All right, but he's basically saying that this Christian Ascania kid, he is not as dangerous as me. That I'm the dangerous one. And this is how he's going to explain this.
German literature.
I don't know, because the 40-year-old man that's in progressivism is still just going to go to work at his tech company, and this guy is going to
I own my own business, and it involves tech, but it's mainly marketing.
Send shoe boxes with bombs in them. These people are crazy.
Okay.
Do you see that face? Do you see the face that Cardin makes right there? Like, he doesn't believe that. Like have you not seen this over and over again? Yeah. I am a full-on woke skulled metal folding chair. You damn right I am.
There's a bunch of leftists that burnt down half my hometown, Los Angeles, and they weren't just going to work at their tech jobs. They were burning down Los Angeles.
Yeah. For that?
Yes, we could go back to the 40s.
All of Europe.
You mean the National Socialists? Yes, the National Socialists and the left.
Okay, do I need to get into this? Okay, yes. The Nazi Party started out, our National Socialists, that's the name. They started out as a Leninist group in Bavaria. But even back then, they had very strong anti-Semitic leanings. In the end, they wound up splitting into two groups: the Berlin Nazis versus the Black Forest Nazis. Joseph Goebbels was basically the leader in the Black Forest Nazis, and Adolf Hitler rose as the leader of the Berlin faction. Eventually, the Berlin faction came to not only embrace capitalism, but embrace an extremist idealism of capitalism that basically designates that there are some people that God prefers over other people, and so gives them preferences in form of economic strength. And that's why rich people should be listened to, and captains of industry should have the hand of government, should have special access in controlling the government, which feels a little familiar right now.
Yeah, the national, call them whatever you want. They had the Oralinda book. They were believing in the same thing this guy believes in, and they got 5 million Germans killed too, by the way. That's the other thing. Racial identitarianism and the whole racial consciousness movement always.
I mean, fair, but let's cut away from that. That's
historical background or goal.
It's just getting
diversity
us down.
For the sake of diversity actually can cause a lot of stress, but a racial diversity underneath the author.
Okay, so now we get into the eugenics talk, and we're gonna get right through this as best we can here. But basically, they're going to start talking about. This is where we get into conversation about selective breeding, and I just again. I don't mean to shame Kwaku here, okay? And maybe he is just making jokes. I would love a statement from Kwaku that these are jokes that don't reflect anything about what he actually believes, because they start to get a little weird.
The more diverse with a shared narrative and historical background or goal. Diversity for the sake of diversity.
Let me try and get it from the beginning here. Sorry, I ran out of time, so I just exported the rest of the clips as one video. It should click in here any second now. So around like 11:52, 55. Sorry.
The more diverse a country is, the less likely they are to commit mass murder against each other.
The more diverse with a shared narrative and historical background or goal. Diversity for
like America, is that the idea card? Okay, because I can't stress this enough. If you take the peoples of these United States of America, what is our shared history and goal? What is the shared history and goal for indigenous peoples of this continent? What do we share with these people? Hey, Songs, good to see you. What is the shared goal that we have as a country with the indigenous people of Hawaii? What is our shared common goal with the Inuit people in Alaska? What is our shared common goal with Jewish immigrants who settled in the southwestern United States and in Sonora, Mexico, trying to escape religious persecution, only to find religious persecution here in America, and then had to forcibly convert to Catholicism just to save their lives, and now live in a completely different culture than the one we came from. I'm talking about my people here. And do we have a shared common goal? Or do we have one dominant story and narrative that has told the rest of the people, that has told the rest of the peoples who already existed that they believe it too, or they will be punished? So this talk gets really, it starts to expose some of the cracks of why it is that we have to put posts about, hey guys, quit talking about exterminating all commies or trans people. It's starting to feel like the call is coming from inside the house.
The sake of diversity actually can cause a lot of stress, but a racial diversity underneath the auspices of, for example,
Yeah, but I think that
American
naturally.
exceptionalism or Judeo-Christian values is a very positive thing.
Yeah, but there has there ever been a country that was diverse for the sake of diversity? It's not really a thing.
Okay, before we get into that, Judeo-Christian values. That the narrative of equality is based on Judeo-Christian values is a very modern construct that takes from it the propaganda that America is a promised land and that some Moses led us here, whether that's John Smith or George Washington or whatever you want to say, Joseph Smith, and that God has a plan for this land, and that promise for that land involves people who are indigenous here understanding that they can become white and delightsome too if they become more like the white and delightsome people who come here from Europe. And so it makes complete sense to me that Mormons believe this. As an ex-Mormon myself, it makes total sense. But to say that that is the virtuous side of the narrative that we have as Americans, I mean, are we talking about America? Is that what this is about?
It's usually because they want. If you want to be there, you're going to be there. But all I know is America. Great, we're a diverse country.
Okay.
We're not in the same trouble as Ukraine and Russia.
Okay.
There's a thing about go to any part of the world. Whenever people double down on that, even Africa, the tribes, there are no white people here. I'm going to kill you. That's how it always works. It's how it works. I'm sorry. It's just true. Like separating makes you crazy because then also your bloodline needs more diversity too. And you ever see someone who's like really, really like nobody else has ever gotten in their bloodline? They look kind of creepy. Like that's why Americans are the best looking, because you got a white guy's got some native in there, he's got a little bit of African in there, he's got some ginger. That's why they're the best looking. When you go to like a place where no one else has gotten the bloodline, you're like, even in like small town America, we're like this.
Okay. See, Quaco, I'm trying to like you here, okay? Stick to the Bernie Crad stuff. Go easy on the, hey, people who have people who preserve their own racial line look creepy. Okay? Diversity, genetic diversity is, generally speaking, evolutionarily speaking, a very good thing. For human beings, our genetic diversity helps to protect against the degeneration of, of our cellular, makeup. It is good for humans to have diversity in our DNA, in our genetics. Absolutely, yes. To say that the people who are indigenous to a community and have an esoteric shared background look creepy, that's a little weird. So this is the part where I'm hoping Kwaku's just laughing. I'm hoping he's just making a wisecrack. But it is one thing to come from a community where the only people you have to marry and to have relationships with and to have families with are the people from your community. It's a different thing to say we only have racial. We only have families that consist of people of one race. But if you're criticizing that, you have to look in and want to be a Mormon. You've got a lot of Mormon history to pick apart in a society that has believed, whether or not it is canonized, has believed some form of what Brigham Young said, that interracial couples, especially among white and black people, should be executed. And in our society, I remember it. I've talked about it on other programs where I remember hearing Mormons that I thought I respected, who don't know that I am an interracial person. My father's white, my mother's Mexican American, and saying that's why the brethren say that you should marry within your race. It comes up again and again. And look, I understand that these younger Mormons are coming from a different place where this has all been purged from their experience, and maybe that's a good thing. But don't go telling us that it's not part of the history and it's not still pervasive in the culture, because it is. And this is a society, they say that there is a Mormon ethnic group. What's the proper term? It's like there's an ethnicity. There's a Mormon ethnicity, because there is so much of persons of Swiss and Swedish and German descent in a regular area where they are having sex with other people of that same group for so many generations, producing so many children who look like it, that now there is a Mormon face. People look at it and say that's a Mormon, because of simple what was available in these communities that had isolated themselves on one side, yes, but also because they were taught that to marry into people of color, communities where with people of color, was to commit a sin against God. I'm trying very hard to use language that accurately portrays it without using hate speech. I'm trying to explain what it is these people have believed. And it was my ancestors, and it was for a lot of you, as your ancestors. And I get that Kwaku doesn't want to believe that happens in Mormonism, but it's happening all around us all the time.
This is the whitest city, and it's like a place in Kentucky. It's like, how come you guys all look like goblins? Like, how come, like, one of you needs to sleep with a Mexican? One of you needs to do the due diligence.
You need to toss some cold.
I don't know what to say about that. I am the product of a white person sleeping with a Mexican. I don't like to think about it. That's gross. But am I beautiful? Am I beautiful, Kwaku?
This is unacceptable. You guys look creepy. Same thing with deep Africans. You look creepy. You look like you look like under the bed. You look scary.
Under the bed is
you
crazy.
Need to. A Swede needs to come in here and do some. This is unacceptable.
You'll need some.
It's not the opposite of eugenics, guy. That's not the opposite of eugenics, Kwaku. If it's selective breeding for the sake of the culture or for the sake of genetic diversity, that's just another kind of eugenics.
Light skin in there.
Okay.
I can't wait for the comments.
Yeah. So we're trucking along
my
here.
family's been in this country for a long time.
Okay.
I'm American.
Okay, this again, Kwaku's going to say some things. Kwaku, you're welcome to come on my program. You did Kara's program. You're welcome to come on Hellfire Agency. The Church of Koror would love to talk to you. You did say this though, dude. You said the things you said.
Okay.
I'm American. I have to say African American sometimes just so people like to, if I have to fill out a card or whatever, but I'm American. And you can look at me and tell I'm American. But when I meet a guy who came here at 13 from Nigeria, and he still has the accent,
Okay.
I am just like you. I am African American too. We are the same.
Don't do the voice.
No.
Even if you are black, don't do the voice. Don't do the voice. If you're Dave Chappelle, maybe you get away with the voice. If you are Wayne Brady, maybe you get away with the voice. But even if you are black, don't do the voice. Don't do the voice. There you go. Do I have to say more?
No. We were born into this. Okay,
Oh, how America first of you.
Hot damn. I mean, hot damn. Called out by Carden Ellis. I have to say, Carden got a good one in there. It does feel a little America first. Now, look, there is some animosity between African people and African Americans, according to what I understand, observing from the outside as a person who is neither African nor African American myself. But I know, because I've had conversations with people who are people of color, well, who are African American, about this, and there's some animosity there, and there's some tension. It gets heated, okay, but and so it's fair to point that out. But then to justify the logic is where you're going to start getting a little bit weird. Just okay, it's fair to say people from Africa, like who were born in Africa, have lived a very different lived experience than people who were born in America to parents, who are black, born in America, to parents who are black, who lived in America, to parents who were black, who lived in America. And to say those two experiences, the one is not the same as the other, that's fine. That's obvious. But where the hell are you going with it? That's that. It's not pointing it out. It's that you would point it out. Careful. You got to tread carefully on that.
Okay. Look. Black people came to America. We came to America. I'm a business owner. I'm a capitalist. I am American. People are like, who's a Marxist? No.
Kind of like Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Carden Ellis is landing too many good points. Stop it.
And here's the thing. Black people, we are an American black people born into slavery.
Oh, careful.
And still what? Created so much for America. Okay? So much. The music industry, sports, not the same without black people. So much of entrepreneurship is black people. And then Africans who, some of them sold us.
Taking our jobs and stealing our chickens.
No. It's like they
or what? Fueling his ego.
Oh, shit. I rewound to the beginning. Anyway. So many problems. Kwaku, tell me you're joking, and then I think maybe consult with some more people before you start telling those jokes again, buddy. Tell me you're just joking, because I want to give you some grace. I want to give you some room. I'm trying to give a wide berth to whatever this is. But this, as a person who is not black, I don't have a lot of room to tell you this, to preach to you. Fine, you need to talk to some people about what you're saying here, and if it's what you actually believe, okay. But I will say this for the sake of the program, because now we're leaning into some things where even Kwaku is, his mind is being shaped by this narrative, the same Mormon theology and ideology that is leading to the fact that they had to post that picture that I showed you, that comment about, hey, let's have fewer calls for exterminating all commies, exterminating all trans people, or XYZ. What is the XYZ? What posts are they deleting on the Discord at Ward Radio? And it's not surprising to me that it would be, that even the guy who's coming out to point out that the Desnat is alive and well is here to point out something like this, and it's gonna get a little bit weird.
You can look at me and tell I'm American.
Let me fast forward.
But when I
here.
meet a guy,
Find my place.
no,
Yeah.
no. Let
This
us
is what
go.
happened.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
We got money.
Your name is going to be Toby. Your name was Otumbe. It is going to be Toby now. Okay. So then, we're here in the colonies, pouring over. We got new names. Don't even be, okay. Horrible torture, complete human trafficking. Freedom comes. We stay and start building.
Do you guys remember a guy named Dennis Prager? Prager University guy? He was really big for a while. I did like a deep dive on Dennis Prager once. Interesting, basically you got a Jewish man who is leading a movement of white Christian nationalists. And it's strange, but it's all about money. Basically, he's well connected to several prominent Christian and Jewish people in the billionaire class who are looking for tax breaks. But what they want, the tax breaks that they want to donate money to a cause. Do they buy art with it? I'm sure maybe they buy some. Do they spend it with the American Red Cross? Do they spend it with the American Cancer Society? I'm sure they give some. But then they start giving Dennis Prager money. And he starts nonprofit organizations specifically for the purpose of indoctrinating people, and especially young people, into believing in American nationalism. And so I maybe one day we'll go deeper on this. But between Dennis Prager and my research into Focus on the Family and all that, these guys, I mean, I fill my head with more poisonous history and garbage than I care to. But I do it because I am desperate to expose these people. Okay. Dennis Prager had a podcast, and in his just giving him as much room as possible, it was clear in the podcast that he was unwell physically, that he looked like he was drunk maybe. And it turns out, I believe it turns out that at the time he was like recovering from surgery, and he was on the good meds, shall we say, but still had committed to making podcasts. And so he went on and he started lecturing while he wasn't entirely, it seemed like, he wasn't entirely in control of his faculties, okay, about how slavery, this is not me speaking, this is Dennis Prager that I'm talking about how slavery wasn't all bad. For one thing, he said, it kept families together. If it starts with slavery wasn't all bad, even if it were true what the rest of that sentence was, which is not, by the way, even if it were, don't. Just don't. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay? Because it's not just about whether or not what you're saying is true. It's about why you're saying it now. That's why you got it. That telling the truth, I'm all for it. Tell the truth. But it's a little hard to say the truth when you don't get your history right, or you don't get the science right, or you plainly manifest that you value the way you feel and your bias over science and over history and over proof. And then to go and use it and say that there are these social values that people should adhere to. If it starts with slavery wasn't all bad, just shut the fuck up.
And now, 200 years later, Africans are coming. We are the same. No.
Yeah.
No. Not true. Not true. And by the way,
Oh, are you daring to say, hey, so you're making the blood and soil rhetoric now?
no.
Oh,
No,
ding,
I'm
ding,
not.
ding, 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 ding.
I think everyone should still be able to come. I'm just saying black people get annoyed when Africans come and pretend it's the same struggle. It's like, no.
Those of you who don't know, Songs of Our Own is black. And yes, I would love to go on a deeper dive with you about this, because there's a lot to unpack here. And frankly, it's not entirely right that I should lecture a black person about this. It's more appropriate that we should have a black person talking to it. I would love to get Songs and Kwaku in a room, right? I mean, maybe a virtual room for safety. No, not. I'm just teasing. I'm not going to say. I'm not saying anybody's violent here, but there's a lot of racial rhetoric here that starts to feel. Forgive me, Kwaku. I already got in trouble for this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it's on Mormon Book Reviews on Steve's show that he had the women on who are defending Mormon polygamy, including Don Bradley's wife for some reason, who has I think she's publicly stated that she's polyam. Okay. Polygamy and polygyny is a kind of polyamory as a polyam person, but it's not our proudest kind. And I'll tell you this, I am a polyam person who does not approve of polygyny, especially institutionalized polygyny. I don't believe in prohibiting other people from practicing it, but I definitely think it's evil. I definitely think it is wrong. But I posted a comment saying there's a lot of internalized misogyny going on here. And I think I offended at least one of them who commented and said, "What do you mean? Which parts do you think have internalized misogyny?" I wasn't going to get into it in the comment section with this person, but it feels a lot like internalized racism going on here. I mean, it feels a lot like I like Joseph Smith. I want to point out all of his, all of this racist stuff about Mormonism that has nothing to do with this white man who said a lot of racist shit. He said and did a lot of racist shit. And so, Kwaku, I don't, I'm trying to be gentle with you, guy. But frankly, it's Joseph Smith that's your problem. It's the Book of Mormon that's your problem. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that's your problem. You want to weed out the racism, you're going to have to start there. And, or you don't have to start there. Most of us didn't. You're going to have to end up there.
We were born into this. You guys have come and you're reaping all the benefit. They can't even play basketball. Like they're they can't even. You ever seen an African play basketball? They get beat. They're not even good at it.
Why am I not laughing? Apparently, this is a very funny joke. Why am I not laughing? This is weird, guys. Why is that funny? That's not funny. To start out in the hey, I am this soft leftist Bernie bro, semi woke progressive Mormon, and then end up at anti-immigrant screeds about people from Africa. It's not, and how they shouldn't benefit from the enslavement of African Americans. Nobody should benefit from the enslavement of African Americans. That should be of benefit to no one at all. That's an evil thing that didn't just happen once upon a time. It goes on in this country now. And we all unfortunately benefit from it. If you need to go take a deep dive into incarcerated slavery, get on it. If you want to talk about, if you want to talk about slavery, we can talk about the history of sharecropping. We can talk about the history of wage slavery in this country. We can talk about how even the most progressive movement of labor unions in this country excluded people of color. Even the progressive side of this country's history has excluded people who were slaves or descendants of slaves. And so to say that no immigrant, that, where is this even going? I mean, it's one thing to say that, not all black people could play basketball, which is, I'm sorry, that one just feels racist. But to then turn around and say, why are these immigrants taking advantage of what we fought and of what slaves went through? Why it started? There's nowhere for that to go that doesn't support a rhetoric of some sort that says slavery wasn't all bad. It was all bad. It is all bad.
You know what I'm saying? And then, but let me add on this one.
Okay.
They're already getting mad at me as well. Add on one other thing here, okay?
Okay. What?
Wait, let me. Holy crap! They're gonna lose. I'm pissing off everyone. I'm gonna have the.
Pissing off
It
this
sounds
one.
like a very, Southern dad saying they're coming across the border, stealing our jobs, It's kind of like the kid.
Okay, commentary from the Peanut Gallery here. They brought this young man on. I'm not sure who he is, to give a perspective of a person who's never been Mormon. He's a nevermo, and now he's calling out Kwaku. I mean, he was the guy Kwaku was relying on for the whole thing to say, tell me or not, does this sound dangerous what this Desnat kid is posting?
Same concept.
And he was
here.
like, yes.
I think there's enough space for everybody. I'm just annoyed when they pretend it's the same thing, because you're coming over and reaping the benefits of what Black Americans did to create out of slavery. We started from less than nothing, and now you're coming over pretending we are all one. We are all the same.
So if you were to see for
Don't do the voice. It's very good. It's very good. Kwaku, don't do it. All right. Just advice. Ask a black person if you should do it. Maybe I have no business giving you advice on that. But okay. Black people didn't do forced labor to build a better country. Now, the country we live in was built on the back of slaves. That's just facts, right? They did it because they had to do it. They did it for forced labor. And that may seem that yes, it definitely is true that we all benefit because of slavery, and not just black slavery, and not just chattel slavery, and not just slavery that's presumed to be gone now. I would remind you that the 13th Amendment, brilliant document that it was, ends with the words, except as punishment for a crime. Except as punishment for a crime. And that's the amendment that supposedly ended slavery. Do I even need to say that? In June? In June. And then, to make jokes about it, that's one thing. You got to have room to make jokes. Okay, fine, right? Dave Chappelle has to have room to make jokes and to express their opinions and their feelings as people of color. I'm not trying to tell Kwaku what he can or cannot do. I just want to point out the problematic nature of this rhetoric, because this is dangerous. It's one thing to point out that there is white nationalism in Mormonism. It's another thing to stand up for it and pretend you don't. But I'll just say, okay, so I was going to say this. No, I'll save it.
for example,
Baked mac and cheese and all the good Southern food. That's us. How many? You think we're eating couscous? It's like Black American food. Everybody loves it. When you go, let's get some African food. Here is a giant plate that is 6 feet long with different things you gotta mush here. And give me a fork. Do you have forks? It's like you gotta put the couscous in here and you gotta put it here. You're dipping. It's like, no. Am I ordering 7 things on the menu? I'm ordering one thing. I don't want to have to. And this is where I think black people need to be Mormons, because truly, the most authentic.
Okay. They're about to end this program. And Kwaku and Garden are about to get into this trigger warning. Okay. This is a point where Carden turns off the program, turns off the stream, then eventually releases it because Kwaku's gone over.
American of Americans are.
I just want to say, Black people have contributed to America's cuisine, not just because of slavery, but because of Cajun culture, because African people have populated this continent long before slavery and long after slavery or chattel slavery. And they brought traditions from various parts of the world, and including Africa, and brought them to this culture. And it is one of the most beautiful things about American culture is that we do have a diversity of cuisine, and the contribution of people of color of multiple different ethnic groups is part of the most beautiful thing that actually makes this that you could say is actually a melting pot about America's racial background. It's like, well, we have all this amazing food from all these amazing places. Yes, I mean, is that contributed to? Is it stolen or what? And in a lot of cases, it's forced upon it. You guys know, some of you know that I had a great conversation with Dr. Anton Troyer a few weeks ago about Ojibwe culture, because there's this movement to try and prove that in Mormonism, in the Heartland movement, that Ojibwe people are Lamanites, that they're not just some Lamanites, they're like the Lamanites from the Book of Mormon, and that the Book of Mormon is written to them to convince them to behave more, to become white, basically. And I've even I've got one of these downloads somewhere of Chief Mitiga basically stating as much. Chief Mitiga, if you don't know, is this Ojibwe man. And this Ojibwe man is treated by some of these people like he's the next prophet, like he's the one mighty and strong, as if that, never becomes problematic ever. But he says that, but I was talking to Dr. Anton Troyer, who's written books like Everything You Wanted to Know About Indians But Were Too Afraid to Ask, which was a phenomenal book. Can't recommend it highly enough. His father was a Holocaust survivor, a Jewish man from Austria. His mother was an Ojibwe person. Because his father was Jewish and not Ojibwe, he can't be actually enrolled in the Ojibwe. I don't want to use the wrong term. I think it's nation. And so he can't actually be enrolled in it, but he grew up Ojibwe. He works at Bemidji University and teaching as far as I know, the only course and the only coursework in learning the Ojibwe language, which he learned as adults. He knew some, of course, growing up. But it was so interesting talking to this man. And, I had learned from his book, and he said, one of the most interesting tokens that we have, he said, the digestive system of indigenous peoples has been on this continent for so long, for 30,000 years, at least 30,000 years. That doesn't line up with the Book of Mormon at all. First time I contacted Dr. Troyer, he responded, he said, Mormons, I don't actually know that much about Mormons, he told me. He said, don't they believe that we are like lost tribes of Israel? I said, effectively, yes. And he said, that's such bullshit. We've been here for 30,000 years at least. I'm like, I like you, Dr. Troyer. Anyways, but he was talking about our digestive system evolved to eat the fruit of the land that we live in. So we eat squash, we eat corn, we eat things that grow in an indigenous environment here, and we eat from here, and we have evolved for this. And he's like, and then you have Indian fry bread. And he said, Indian fry bread is not Indian. It was introduced to us because it was delicious. He starts going into, he's like, even I sometimes when I'm at the powwow, because he goes to a lot of powwows, he goes to a lot of indigenous events, and native in the native world, speaks at a lot of those. And he said, even I, I go by and I see Indian people making Indian fry bread that is not Indian, and even I find myself going over to buy it because it is delicious. But it also wreaks havoc on our bodies because our bodies did not, evolve to metabolize this. How much of that is true? I think it's scientifically an interesting question. I have a good friend who's actually a specialist in food science and evolution, and a fellow Exmo I meant to talk to about that, and we just haven't had a chance to talk about it. But what a fascinating thing to think about, that Indian fry bread is not Indian. How much of, and you think about how much of Mexican food is not Mexican. And people, I forget which program I was watching. I think it was Ward Radio, but I don't want to put this on them. I was watching one, how I love to hate watch. I was watching somebody who was talking about, you notice how Mexican food, there's only one kind? That's what they said. They said, you have all these cultures like Chinese food. You have all this variety of different kinds of food, but Mexican food, you just have like the same thing. It's all the same stuff. And I'm just like blown away at the cultural ignorance. Blown away as a Mexican American. I'm like, you obviously are ignorant of our people. If you go to eat food in Baja California, and then you go and eat food from Sonora, and you go and eat the delicious cheese from Oaxaca, and you go and eat the fresh fish from Aguas Calientes. I mean, if you've ever traveled in Mexico, which I am fortunate to have done, and experienced the cuisine from the various parts of this beautiful culture and these beautiful people, my people, it is incredible how diverse Mexican food is. And so yes, diversity in our culture makes us richer as a culture. But to start to isolate people who are immigrants as if they don't deserve to benefit from it, they don't deserve credit for it, even if you are right, it's wrong, because what you're doing is you're trying to build walls, between people who are, yes, okay, maybe they didn't grow up with your experiences, but that doesn't make it right to isolate them in this way. And it just starts to smack of anti-immigrant rhetoric. And that's, you want to talk about Nazi rhetoric, if you can't lean into anti-immigrant rhetoric and say that you are opposed to Nazism once you read Mein Kampf. And I'm not suggesting everybody do that. But if you do that, you find out anti-immigrant rhetoric is right-wing rhetoric, is Nazi rhetoric. It just is.
White Mormons and black people. And I say black people are different than Africans. I'm going to tell you why.
I'm going to rewind that so you hear it a little bit more. I'm sorry to do that, but it deserves to pay attention to this.
Get some African food. Here is a giant plate that is 6 feet long with different things you gotta mush here. And give me a fork. Do you have forks? It's like you gotta put the couscous in here and you gotta put it here. You're dipping. It's like, no. Am I ordering 7 things on the menu? I'm ordering one thing. I don't want to have to. And this is where I think black people need to be Mormons, because truly, the most authentic American of Americans are white Mormons and black people. And I say black people are different than Africans. I'm going to tell you why. A normal white guy name in America, John, that's not an American name. That's an English
biblical name. Yeah.
Biblical name, but it's an English name.
Yeah.
John was, translated from the Greek and everything. The most American from America and nowhere else are Mormon names and black people names. Make fun of Jamal and Shaniqua all you want. That's an American name. There are no Jamals around Africa.
Ammon,
Dallin?
Nephi, yeah.
Dallin. What is Dallin? It's American.
Or that might be English.
McKaylee Ann, American.
That's Utah.
Mormon Utah names
That's real.
are American from America. It is American. Black people, it is American. There's nowhere else in the world we're pulling it from.
And if
It is
Jamal meets McKaylee Ann, then
Many
that's
such
Nowhere else in the world we're pulling it from. McKaylee is appropriation of Scots-Irish culture. I mean, I don't know how to say it more politely than that. It's appropriation. It's fair to say that it's unique, that it's esoteric, that it's part of this community. Yes, in Utah, people take cool sounding last names, make them first names. I can't tell you how many Utahns I've met that were girls named Kennedy. I don't think I've ever met a boy named Kennedy. Isn't that interesting? Does Kennedy just sound more feminine? I don't get it. But to say, well, Kennedy, if you name a girl Kennedy, that's from Utah. That's not from anywhere else. Well, it's from Ireland. They're an Irish family.
such occasions. Many such occasions. And then their kids are on the BYU basketball team.
That's when you get James.
So look, if anything, Mormons should understand. It's
So yeah. Okay, then it gets to the very end. This is the point where
actually, dude, they're super classy.
they
I love
terminate
watching
it
them play
because-
soccer. And
Okay, this is trigger warning. Did I trigger warn you enough about this? Okay, Cardin's about to end this program because they've gone on long enough and because Kwaku is going off the rails. But then Cardin has to throw in his own rhetoric here. And again, we started this whole 2-hour screed of mine with my talking about how Ward Radio had this image. Shall I show you the image? It had this post on their Discord. Shall I show you again? I can't show it here. I'll show it. But anyways, you can scroll back to the beginning. Near the beginning, I show the post where they ask people to stop posting in the Ward Radio Discord calls to exterminate people who are trans, calling to exterminate communists, and calling to exterminate quote unquote XYZ. What the hell is going on? And then I got one picture of that post before somebody said, "Who's this Korahor guy?" And then I was kicked out. Anyways. Okay. But maybe this is part of the reason why they have to post, "Hey guys, knock it off." And I just want to show this here. That's all right, songs. You can catch it. I'll show it to you guys here in a minute if you guys want to see it. Gosh, where is it? 19 minutes and 44 seconds. Okay. Anyways, Cardin's about to go off the rails and
actually,
then end
dude,
this
they're
program.
super classy. I love watching them play soccer instead of the faker Europeans and
Talking
South
about
Americans.
African people.
I love watching the African guys because they don't fake that they got fouled. They just get up and keep playing, very sportsmanlike. So, this brother approaches you, and what does he say?
Wait, brother.
You were about to start an accent making fun of an African for saying
Quick.
something.
Okay. Before you go into Kwaku's racist impersonation of African people. Before we get into that, it's a curious thing to say there, Garden, that African people are better at soccer than people from Latin America because they don't pretend to get hurt. I'm sure that you'll find Latinx people who will say you're talking about Brazilians if they're not Brazilian, or you're talking about Mexicans if they're Guatemaltecos, and and if you say that to an Argentine person, maybe they'll say, "Oh, you're definitely talking about a Chileno or a Peruvian," but not about us, because there's a lot of that tension in the Latinx world. But I can tell you this right now, none of us are going to put up with saying that any group is just inherently better at soccer. I mean, you best come prepared to fight over them's fighting words.
We can play soccer. We can play football. We can play football. Yes, you can play football. Basketball. You're not that good at it. You're not that good at basketball. Okay.
So
That's
I
not
don't
funny
know anymore what we're talking about other than
Christian Ascania is a lunatic, and Africans need to get to the back of the bus. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke. I don't think that. I don't think that. It's a joke.
Okay, I'm ending this one. I don't even know how to end it because we didn't start it, but here we go.
Ended it with sponsored by Scripture Notes. Scripture Notes, you got your plug. Does it feel good? Scripture Notes, if you don't know, is an app that Mormons are starting to buy into because they're so hungry for more scripture. They actually gave up the quad for an app. That doesn't the church has an app for your scriptures, but this one has AI built into it. What happened to praying? What happened to just old-fashioned praying? So I'm just saying this. Look, I'm somebody will send this to Cardin and Kwaku. And if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But come here and tell it to my face. You know what I'm saying? Metaphorically speaking. And but here's what I'm saying is that you can say that Desnat is a completely different rhetoric than Mormonism until you look into the fact that Visions of Glory is there. The Pearl of Great Price and the Doctrine and Covenants are in the reading list of this Christian Ascania. You can say, well, you can say that he is Hoyeristically applying it wrong. Fine. We can fight all day about that. But it warrants mentioning here that even in the criticism of Desnat, Mormons are exposing the internalized, white supremacy and the inherent white and Christian nationalism of a movement that started with a book that said you are Israelites, just like all these books that this young man is writing about how the French are Israelites and the Danes are Israelites and so on and so forth. It is one in the same. It is the same movement. You can't talk about gathering the lost tribes of Israel among indigenous peoples and without finding this Christian nationalism in there somewhere. And comments about how people how people look if they come from a community where they have not been. I'm trying so hard to not use the word breed again, but it is. I got into a lot of trouble. I don't know how many of you know this, but I got into a lot of trouble with porch time. Porch time. When I happened to have said, porch times, they're not my favorite. But I talked to them. I've had them on my program, and but I happened to mention to say to someone that this idea that that monogamy is the only true way for culture to progress. One that doesn't allow for polyam, for multiamory. That it was effectively this pro-natal movement is breeding kink. And look, I don't back down. I don't back down. I hear these guys talking about it. There's only so many times you can. Here, I'll say some controversial shit. Maybe we get some cohort controversy here, okay? There's only so many guys who've gotten banned from Tinder there's only so many times that these guys can talk about how God intended for one man to be with one woman, and one day I'm going to get one, and we're going to have 2.5 babies, and a golden egg, retirement account, and I'm going to, as soon as the right one comes along, I'm 40 years old, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to find the right one. There's only so many times before you have to look at it and say, is this about the fact that once girls find out that you have like a 3%er monument on your wall, they don't want another Tinder date? Is that where this is all coming from? If how much of this is incel crap? That's what I want to know. Now with Kwaku, I don't think it is, because obviously, I think he's married. He has, and good for these guys that they have happy home lives and so on and so forth. But when you start talking about successive generations and how they look, or successive generations and whether or not they are preserving the culture, you're talking about selective breeding, and you're talking about your right to permanence your likeness into the next generation. They talked a little bit about a guy at the beginning, about a guy named Kevin. Oh gosh, now I can't remember him off the top of my head. He's a Desnat leader. Oh, yep, I have him pulled up. The guy's name is Kevin Dolan. Okay. Mormon guy. Here, Desnat Exposed has this picture. Let me pull it up for you. Okay. I'll do this, and then I'm going to end this because this has gone on a little long. Oh, that's Christian Escani again. We'll close that. Okay, Desnat Exposed. Here we go. And okay, so basically, this guy, he is the guy who ran that pro-natal conference that they had recently. It was like at the end of last year, or end of 23. I think it was the end of last year, just recently, not long ago. Okay, about pro-natalism. Okay, I don't consider myself a passionate anti-natalist, but I do believe that to be born in this world is an ethical conundrum, and to bring people into this world is an ethical conundrum, and we should be fighting for making a better world if we're going to bring children into it. But this pro-natalist conference, this guy gets up and talks at length about how he is not ashamed of the fact that if you love a person, you love their nose, and you love their eyes, and you love their, these features. And love means choosing to preserve those features in another generation of people. And that, even again, it can be true and also creepy at the same time. I choose you to selectively breed your genetics into another generation. Can't we just say, I think our babies would be pretty? That's plenty enough. That's plenty enough. And Kevin Dolan, are you going into Tinder dates with that? Because maybe not, dude. Maybe not. And so, am I wrong to say that so much of this racial talk that happens among these white Mormons, it's breeding kink, and it's a little bit creepy? Oh, Kwaku isn't married? I didn't know that. Well, good luck to him. Maybe, does he want to get married? I don't know anything. Kwaku, come on my show. Tell me. I thought he was married. Well, I don't know. I could have sworn is he divorced? I don't know. Kwaku, you better come on and tell on the show and tell me about this and call me out. Am I wrong? You come on my show, I might get Songs of Our Own on here to stand with me, because it might get bad. Hey, listen, you guys, we're going to go back to having regular sermons. I'm sorry that it hasn't been regular lately, I've been trying to get through some work stuff and also finishing writing the book. Those of you who don't know, I'm writing a book called All My Prophets Paint. It's a book of sermons about my favorite painters. And I've just been in love with these sermons. I'm planning to deliver another one on Sunday. If I run, it's called Blue Period. And I tell you, it's been a phenomenal experience just putting this book together. I remember when I wrote my first book, The Korihor Argument, both of you who have read it, thank you, about my memoir, about my mission and becoming an atheist, and how therapeutic it was, not just to write my story down and go through all the things I remember, how much I remember, and then see where my trauma was that led to not just remember my trauma, but remember the healing from it and reminding myself to heal from it. It was a very good experience. I highly recommend writing out your trauma, you know, whatever that moment was that you deconstructed. Write it out in detail as if somebody would read it. And somebody might, you know. And I joke about both the people who have read mine. It's well over 100 people, I think, have read the Korihor Argument. And I'm grateful to all of them if they got something out of it. I get comments from people about how much they enjoyed it. I remember when Sam Shelley interviewed me for Zelf on the Shelf's blog and said, what do you know? What do you wish people knew about the Korihor Argument? And what's one thing you wish people knew about the Korihor Argument? That's how I remember this conversation going. And I said that it's funny. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I chose the title, The Korihor Argument, because it made sense to me at the time and I was in it. But at the end of the day, the thing that you need to know about the Korihor Argument is that it's funny. It's got lots of great stories in it, not just about my mission in Peru, but about Mormon history and things like that. And I make a lot of wisecracks. And I'm like, I just chose a bad fucking title for it. Because people think that it's angry because it says argument in it. It's not angry. Well, there are parts that get a little bit angry, but even those parts are funny. So anyways, I'm planning to read that one also and to make an audiobook version of that. So it's going to be fun. And the Church of Korihor has legs. We're moving forward. It may seem like we have fallen off the face of the earth since we last spoke. We have a new fellow in the Church of Korihor. We've converted another lost sheep to wander in the darkness with us, and possibly we've been talking, and we've launched so far 5 missions of the Church of Korihor, including a couple that I am personally heading up, including Spectrum Gallery, which is marching along. We are failing at an epic pace. I'm currently building a kind of pathway of emails that you receive when you decide you want to convert to Korohorism, and you sign up and you start to receive it's like discussions basically, but instead of sitting down with some weirdo telling you about God, it's just about, you need to understand what the Church of Korihor is, and when you take the oath of reason, so that you know when you take the oath of reason what it is that you're committing to, and we really appreciate your support, and we need your help. And basically, I've been working on that and on the luminary application, so people who want to become ordained in our clergy can start the path to that. And also, I'm working on a volunteer system so that people who don't want to join the church and don't want to become ordained as clergy can volunteer to help us, because frankly, we don't have any money and we have a lot of things that need to get done. And the list keeps growing and growing and growing. And I know that there are people out there who say, I'm not an atheist, or I'm not really looking to join a church, or I'm not really looking to necessarily get involved in becoming a representative of your church. But if you need help distributing blankets, I can do it. Well, okay, cool. We need that. Right now we're looking more at like distributing like ponchos and water and things like that for our missions to the unsheltered. I'm also looking desperately for people who have coding experience, or people who are good with tech stuff. And I desperately need some people who can help us to organize getting our clergy, especially Jenny and Jules, onto podcasts and programs and scheduling and stuff like that. And it's just more work than we have people. So those are things that we're planning to do at the Church of Korihor that have been, going full speed ahead. So I'm sorry I've kind of disappeared off the face of the earth for a while. I've been really super busy with this stuff, and bringing Hellfire Agency back, including, by the way, the possibility that we're going to expand a few more episodes about like Ted Bundy and some of these episodes from Blood Atonement. We're going to bring back all the true crime podcasts. I'm super excited about that. I really think that we've got some exciting things going on here. I'm failing on an epic scale here at a lot of stuff, and it's beautiful, man, because I'm learning all sorts of interesting things. And the Church of Korihor is flying by the seat of its pants here, and frankly, I kind of love it. I kind of do, and it's really exciting. And some of you who are my Facebook friends know that, things have been kind of dark for me in my personal life lately. And so the Church of Korihor is the light in my world. And I just want all you guys out there, those who are involved and those who aren't, to know that I fucking love you. What do you want me to say? I love you guys. And thanks for sticking it out with me. And I hope you had fun and not just were traumatized. I'm pretty sure it traumatized at least a couple of you. And for that, I am sorry. But those of you who stuck it out because it was weird and interesting and better than Mormonism After Dark, I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to you guys. Peace out. Flash bright.